Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Continue our explanation of Sahih al-Bukhari from the benefits of the explanation by Abu Mashkul al-Israfili, who studied in Yemen, the Majd. Okay, so the next benefit is Jam al-Bukhari في هذه الكتاب جملة من نواب العلوم لهذا سماها al-Jami. So Bukhari, regarding this book, Sahih Bukhari, he gathered in it a number of types of knowledge. That's why he called it al-Jami, which means comprehensive. لم يكن كتابه خاص في باب المعين. So his book wasn't specific regarding one chapter, regarding one subject, meaning Aqidah or Tafsir. It basically gathered between all of the Islamic knowledge, Aqidah, fiqh, Tawheed, you could even say Arabic language in it as well. Maybe not directly, but indirectly. خاص في باب معين ولا في فن معين. So that's why his book is called Al-Jami. And Amma Musnad, which is also the official name of the book, Al-Jami Al-Musnad, for Zahir, meaning that's clear. Why it's called Al-Musnad? Because meaning it has connected chains. أما قوله الصحيح, as for his saying الجامع المسند الصحيح, فالمقصود من ذلك أنه لم يذكر في حديث ضعيف. The reason why it's called it الصحيح is because he didn't mention a weak narration. وإنما تحرر صحة, rather he was careful regarding to make sure that what he quoted in his book was authentic. قوله مختصر. So now we're talking about the title of the book further down, the words. So we talked about Al-Jami, we talked about Al-Musnad, we talked about Sahih, Al-Mukhtasar, meaning summary. بِلِسَانِ مَا يَحْفَظُ. The reason why it's summary is in relation to what he's memorized, because he'd memorized a lot more than that, but he was basically choosing the cream of the crop, if you like, in terms of Sahih Bukhari. Anyway, carrying on now. أشهر الرواة الصحيح البخاري. Now we're talking about the most famous narrators who narrated Sahih Bukhari. So number one, Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Yusuf al-Firabri, وهو مشهور أشهرهم. So he is the most famous one, al-Firabri. Abu Ishaq Ibrahim ibn Ma'kal an-Nisibi, I think that's how you say it. He's one of the other narrators of Sahih Bukhari, who narrated Sahih Bukhari to us. Moving on, Hamad ibn Shakir al-Nasawi, and also finally Abu Talha Mansur ibn Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baldawi. وَلِكُلِّ وَاحِدٍ مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ تَلَامِيذ رَوُوا عَنْ هَذَا الْكِتَابِ. So these people narrated from Bukhari, and these people had many students who narrated from them. Yeah? Just to give you a little insight there. Okay, so let's carry on now. Now we're going to talk about how the ulama basically paid great importance to Sahih Bukhari. Ittinal ulama li Bukhari la yumkin hasra. We cannot basically enumerate the care that the ulama have taken regarding Sahih Bukhari. Ashharul mustakhrajat allafa Abu Bakr الجرماني الإسماعيلي وكذلك المرضوي الأصبهاني. So the most famous people who did mustakhrajat. Basically, mustakhrajat is they would get the same hadith that Bukhari narrated, but they would look for another chain of narration for that same hadith, not the same pathway that Bukhari took. And there's benefits in that to basically increase make you realize the increased nature of the authenticity of the book. So we mentioned Abu Bakr al-Jurjani al-Ismaili and also al-Mazdawi al-Asbahani. Yeah? Okay, so also ومن أشهر من استدرك على البخاري الإمام دارقطني في كتابه الإلزامات ما كتابه تتبع حققهما شيخ مقبل رحمه الله تحقيقا علميا. And from the most famous people who basically made istidrak on Imam Bukhari. Istidrak is basically where Bukhari mentions something, but you say it may be better he should have mentioned this. Not necessarily correcting mistakes, and also doesn't mean that you're right in your istidrak. Yeah, which obviously somebody is istidrak right now, they would be completely wrong because they don't have the knowledge. But Daraqutni is a great scholar of Ahl Sunnah Islam, and it doesn't mean that he was saying Bukhari made mistakes. He's saying that maybe it's better if Bukhari added this hadith instead of that one, or used this chain instead of that one. Yeah, that's from the ijtihad of Daraqutni. And generally, the correct nature is with Bukhari, and if there is an aspect of istidrak on Bukhari by Daraqutni, it doesn't mean that Bukhari was wrong. Yeah. And he did that in his book Al-Ilzamat and also in his book At-Tatabbu, and this was basically checked or published, the book was checked by Sheikh Muqbil Rahimullah, and he did a good checking of it basically. Okay, وَمِمَّنْ أَصْدَقَ الْحَاكِمِ. And also another person that did istidrak was Hakim, the Imam Hakim. Samahu al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, and he called his book al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, on the two Sahihs. Yeah. However, he was criticized a lot. إِبَ عَلَيْهِ كَثِيرًا فَإِنَّهُ this one is very important. فَإِنَّهُ يَلْزِمُ al-Bukhari Muslim أن يخرج حديث ربما أن يكون ضعيف أو موضوع. Now he was criticized because he would basically say Bukhari should have and Muslim should have narrated this hadith or mentioned this hadith in the book. Yeah, and perhaps what Hakim was saying was that when he said that they should have narrated this hadith or put this hadith in the book, the hadith that Hakim was mentioning was weak or fabricated. Yeah. So obviously he was wrong there. والمشكلة العظمى أن الشيخين لم يلتزم بتقرير جميع حديث الصحيح. But even if Hakim was mentioned an authentic hadith, the problem is that Bukhari and Muslim, neither of them said that they would extract all the authentic narration in the book. They only would choose the cream of the crop. So there's no aspect for them to criticize regarding this. Okay, so let's move on now. Ajmal al-Sharh. The most beautiful explanation of Bukhari is by the Shaykh al-Imam al-Salafi Ibn Rajab Rahimullah, is by Ibn Rajab Rahimullah. وَلَا نَعْلَمْ مَنْ شَرَى الْبُخَارِ عَلَى عَقِيدَةِ السَّلَفِ إِلَّا Ibn Rajab. And Shaykh says, we don't know anyone that explained Bukhari according to the way of the Salaf except Ibn Rajab. Obviously now it's different. You have the books of Sheikh Uthaymeen who explained, I think, pretty much all of Bukhari. Bin Baz, pretty much all of Bukhari. Abdul Raji, pretty much all of Bukhari. Now there's just recently it's published from earlier, before Ibn Rajab al-Asbahani was a Salafi. That's been published, although not it's just a light tadliqat. And so now obviously, alhamdulillah, the explanation of Ahl Sunnah increasing. And inshallah this will be from those explanations as well. النجم اليماني في شرح البخاري جمعها عارف أسواني. Unfortunately with Ibn Rajab's explanation, he didn't finish it, he died before he did it. إلا أن مشكلة لم يوجد كاملة ولا مستند. I think the Shaykh mentioned here, except the only issue is that it's not, a lot of it's not explained or didn't complete the explanation unless aid is sought. وأحسن الشروع, the best complete explanation is Sharh Hafiz ibn Hajar, is the explanation of Hafiz ibn Hajar. لا يستغني عنه طالب العلم. Student knowledge cannot do without it. Yes, Ibn Hajar did make a few mistakes, but he's from Ahl Sunnah because his goal was to follow the Sunnah, not like Ahl Bidah. And we criticize him regarding his mistakes, but we do it with manners, not like how some people do now, where they have no knowledge and they criticize him and they slander him and things like that. He made mistakes, but you have to understand in the environment that he was in, there was certain things in regarding the name and attributes of Allah where they were explained not according to Ahl Sunnah, and of course Ibn Hajar being that time and lack of communication that time thought that was the haqq regarding that. Anyway, let's carry on. Istifada min jami man shara qablahu. And Ibn Hajar, he not only was a scholar, but he was also very good in terms of getting information and utilizing it. So he benefited from all of the explanations prior to him. And then the Sheikh mentions, as I mentioned, I should have really just let the Sheikh talk really, but now I've noted it here, that لَأَلَّ مِنْ أَحْسَنَ مَنْ شَرَعَ مِنَ الْمُعَاصِرِينَ, perhaps from the best explanations from the modernist scholars, Sharh Salafi, Salafi Sharh Al-Allam Al-Raji is the explanation of the great scholar Abdul Aziz Al-Raji, who was the student of Sheikh bin Baz. وَكَذَلِكَ Sharh or Tatliq, or likewise the explanation or light explanation Allama Salafi Al-Uthaymin, of the great scholar, the Salafi Muhammad ibn Salih Al-Uthaymin rahimahullah. Nearly done now. Now we talk about the Asan al-Mukhtasar, the best summarized version of Sahih Bukhari is by Sa'd al-Shikri, which is probably the newest summarized version, and it's the best one. Okay. And now let's just quickly talk further, just 6 more lines and we're done. Al-Mashhur Kutub Sahih Bukhari wa tis'ina kutuban. So in Sahih Bukhari, within it there are 97 books, yeah? Kitab al-Salah, Kitab al-Wudu, etc. بدون تكرار عدد الحديث 2600 وسب, and the number of hadith, not including repeated ones, are 2607 hadith, yeah? Also another benefit is لا يقال رواه البخاري لحديث معلق, إنما يقال رواه حديث معلقا. So when Bukhari, most of his hadith that he narrates are obviously connected with a chain, but sometimes he'll just put the hadith in and won't mention the chain, because one, it doesn't fit his condition, or he's using it as a chapter heading, for example. So you don't say narrated by Bukhari like that, because otherwise people think that he's mentioning the chain. You say Rawahu hadith al-mu'allaq, and you say Bukhari narrated hadith mu'allaq, meaning without a chain, yeah? Next benefit, and the last benefit before we end the day today, al-asl anna jami' al-hadith allati wurida fi Sahih Bukhari sahih. The asl, the origin is that all of the hadith that are mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari are authentic. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah,